welcome back to Vervecast. I'm Avery.
And I'm Jonah.
In this episode, we're highlighting TK's very own student, Finley Evans, who is sharing God's Word through her self-curated podcast.
We'll also be discussing the rising popularity of rowing.
Plus feature stories on students Hayden Petty, an aerial silk athlete.
And Tiernan Larson, a 15-year-old pilot.
Vervecast starts now.
Freshman Finley Evans has created a podcast to share God's Word with others. Let's go to Judah for the story.
Thanks, Jonah. Finley Evans started her podcast, Hear Me Out, when she was just 12 years old.
So my favorite episode I've done by far is just all the ones with my brother Whit on them. He's the one that encouraged me to start it. And so the first one we did, my podcasts were kind of 10 to 20 minutes, in that range at first, sometimes less than 10 minutes. They were pretty short. And so when he came on, we kind of he was just be yourself. Let's just talk how we normally talk. Let's not, let's just be super chill. And I never really done that before. I never really not had a script or anything. And he was let's just see how it goes. And we ended up talking for an hour. And I went and looked back and I was oh my goodness, I've never talked this long. And we had just talked about life and all this stuff. And then that ended up being the one with the most views.
Looking ahead, Finley hopes to expand her podcast to a nationwide ministry, Finish Faithful, and to mentor middle school and high school girls in their faith. Back to you, Jonah and Avery.
Thanks, Judah. Rowing is becoming a popular sport, especially after the release of the film Boys in the Boat.
Charlie Lippert, a junior at St. Andrew Rowing Club, has achieved several successes in the sport. Let's go to Joe for the story.
Thanks, Avery. Junior Charlie Lippert has won several awards, including 4 gold regional medals and 2 national medals. She was inspired by her father, who rowed at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville.
So I found out about rowing when I was on a walk with my family next to this river, and I saw a group of rowers go by, and I was that looks fun. And my mom was I'll sign you up. And so now I guess I'm now rowing.
The sport requires physical strength, endurance, and teamwork to achieve success.
So it depends if it's a land day or a water day. If it's a land day, it's mainly conditioning. So we go for runs, we do body circuits, we erg, which is on a rowing machine, and we do core, stuff like that. And on water days, we get out launches, oars, and the boats, and we go out and do drills and stuff.
The sport of rowing continues to grow in popularity, supported by the recent release of the film The Boys in the Boat.
It's the first environment that's not completely a Christian environment. So I have an opportunity to share the gospel with my fellow rowing teammates, which I love. And I also get to make new friends. So what I love about my team dynamic is even though that we're all really different, we all get along very well, and we all have inside jokes, which are really fun to laugh at randomly. And we all like our coaches, so it's not we have any tension there, but that's fun.
Students with no experience can join the sport anytime and quickly get the hang of it.
Okay, so I've been to 3 regattas, which are rowing competitions, and in each of those regattas, I've raced twice per rowing competition, and I was in an 8 and a 4 per competition, so it's 4 rowers in a boat plus the coxswain, and then 8 rowers in a boat, which is also coxswain.
Let's go back to Jonah and Avery.
Thanks, Joe.
Now, let's go to Sadie for a story on Hayden Petty, a senior who practices aerial silks.
Thanks, Jonah. Senior Hayden Petty has been doing aerial silks since the age of 11. She trains 3 to 4 times a week at North Georgia Aerial Silks.
Aerial silks is a little bit hard to explain to people who don't know what it is. I usually say it's acrobatics, but I'm hanging from 2 pieces of fabric hanging from the ceiling. That's typically how I describe it, because there's not a really good way to compare it to anything. I started doing aerial silks when I was 11, and I just came from doing a bunch of years in gymnastics, and all my friends were leaving gymnastics, and I didn't really want to stay doing it because I was not doing very well because I was just scared of everything. So we were kind of looking for something sort of similar that I would want to do, and I took a class when I was 10 at a rock climbing gym that had silks, and I was oh, I really like that. So then the day after my last state meet for gymnastics, I took my first class for aerial silks when I was 11, and then it was kind of just from there.
Petty performs in 2 annual shows and several farmers market performances each summer. This spring, she plans to compete at the Aerial Olympics.
I have a couple of coaches, actually. It's just whatever day that they teach, and I go 3 days a week, so I really have 2 different coaches, but I'm a little bit more on the advanced side, so it's less, it's a little bit more muddy as far as like who my coach actually is.
Petty's parents have been her biggest supporters throughout the years, attending every performance and even installing an aerial silks in their home for extra practice.
I really love like the adrenaline rush that I get from like doing all the drops and stuff, and I think it's really fun to do like performances and everything, and yeah, I just really love it. It's great.
After high school, Petty plans to pursue aerospace engineering, but she hopes to continue aerial silks and maybe even coach. Back to you, Jonah and Avery.
Thanks, Sadie. Let's go to Ashley for a final story on 15-year-old pilot Tiernan Larson.
Larson, a sophomore, became interested in flight early on. After searching for somewhere to fly, Larson found Civil Air Patrol. The program gives young flyers like him the chance to fly planes, gliders, and even hot air balloons.
Okay, so honestly, I've always really liked planes, just because I was like, ooh, that's a plane, that's pretty cool. And then I was sitting one day, and my parents wanted me to do an extracurricular because I was being really lazy. Didn't really want to do anything. And I remembered that a family friend called Donnie had mentioned this thing called Civil Air Patrol, which allowed you to fly planes. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then my parents signed me up because I mentioned it. So I went there, and then I found out you could actually fly planes without really, like, I don't want to say a lot of work. There was a lot of work, but, like, without a lot of money, you could just fly planes. And I was like, this is great. If I fly planes, I can actually make a job out of this. This is a hobby I enjoy that I can make a job out of. And I can also be like, hey, I fly planes.
Larson is one of the youngest in the program with 15 other aspiring pilots. Although he's not legally allowed to fly solo due to his age, he still gets to enjoy flying.
You get to fly 5 planes total, as long as you're in the organization. 5 gliders and 5 hot air balloons. So you didn't have to put in a lot of work. If you just get through the basic thing, it takes like 2 months. And then sign up whenever you see this. I've chosen to also lean more into the aerospace and leadership side of things. Like rank up kind of deal, because it's an auxiliary of the Air Force, so it's a military thing. So rank up, put in the work so that I can also learn about aerospace in the classroom kind of setting, so that when I'm flying the plane, I know what I'm doing more.
When Larson flies, an instructor takes off and lands, but once they're over 1,000 feet, Larson has control of the plane.
I've flown 2 planes and 3 gliders as well. So it's because you get 5 flights of each, you kind of have to space them out so that you don't run out of all of them. You can always sit in the back seat of the plane and watch other people fly it as well, so that you can, get more experience, learn stuff, but you can't actually fly it more than 5 times. The flights are about hour and a half long-ish, so once you take off the ground from 1,000 feet, which is where it's legal, you fly all the way to basically maybe Rome, Georgia, so it's like a 2-hour flight. You fly pretty much all the way there, and then you land, you flip out with the person who's in the back, they fly it back.
Larson flies round-trip flights of about 4 hours, taking turns with other students. He says the hardest part is maintaining elevation and keeping the plane level.
So the eventual job I want is to be a Delta pilot. Delta captains make like $200 to $300K a year, which is, really sweet, and they've got like really nice benefits. I want to say they've got like 3 months paternity leave. So really good job. Ideally, I want to go through this organization enough that they offer me, I have to apply for. There's a scholarship that's $60,000 towards getting your private pilot's license. Once you get that, I'd be able to go to college. You wouldn't have to go to college, but college would accelerate the process.
Larson also flies gliders and hot air balloons and hopes to become a commercial airline pilot. He's enrolled in college courses to further his goal. Back to you, Jonah and Avery.
Thanks, Ashley.
That's a wrap on today's Vervecast. If you enjoyed this broadcast, check out older episodes on our channel.
To read more about these stories,
Look for the newspaper in your doc folders.
or head to our website, thevervenews.com.
And remember,
The Verve is your voice.